Yeah, so am I.
Why? What happened? Was there a
Just
little bit
a
of
little bit of wada bing 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 bidding bing bidding bing. You know?
I mean, that's that's all right. I think that
Okay, that's not
it's
gonna
one of
happen
those things.
now.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. Stuff like that. I don't think that's not a problem at all. I mean, especially because your sub is it always is funny to me. Um,
Let me disable the ads here as well. There we go.
okay, okay,
Okay, it's off.
um,
Everything's off now.
okay. So we're ready.
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. Well, I want to welcome everyone to number 15 of the Coffee Talk podcast. I can't believe it's been 15. That means 15 weeks
Yes.
we've been doing this. It's actually, I think it's worked out pretty well. Last episode, if anyone was here didn't see it or didn't hear about it, we had Green Dude. I do want to say I made a mistake. We didn't think about it, So is it a mistake worthy of ultimate shame? I don't know about that. We didn't plug Path of Diablo right away at the start of the thing, letting people know where Green Dude was from. It did come up eventually in the episode, but it was a long episode. So I just want to make sure that people know. And I know Noogie had a link. We had a link on our website, but just, in case anyone was interested, Path of Diablo is Green Dude's, what would you call it, Noogie? Full conversion? What I was thinking about that. Okay.
It's a Path of Exile inspired mod for Diablo 2.
Okay.
That sees to improve some of the base game as well. That's what I was saying.
Because Median XL, that would be a full conversion.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's almost a standalone game at this point.
Okay. So anyway, anyone who was interested in that was Coffee Talk 14. You can find that. You can subscribe. Website, coffeetalkpodcast.com. Pretty easy, however you want to do it. So anyway, I figure one of the things I really wanted to talk about, since we're like into it now.
Yeah.
Season blamped race that's going on. In fact, right now as we speak. What were your thoughts? Because it was interesting to me, sort of hearing people talk about racing and it being excited and stuff. Mm-hmm. What do you feel about the 24-hour Malachi race? Because I actually thought it would be popular, but I thought people would die on Brutus and be like, why am I why am I doing this? But there's a lot of people who completed the race.
Yeah.
So I mean, so what do you think? What do you think about it? Like, what are your?
I think
do you like it? Do you wish it was changed?
No, I think that is a good race. I think there are some things that could be improved. So like how do you win the race? Right? Is it just the first one to kill him from the start?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that's it. Something I would like to see, maybe not on every race like this, but I would love to see a race where you could start 5 hours later and you could still win.
Right.
With something like this.
I think people have been asking, so it's not the age of the league, which is how it currently works. It's the age of the character.
Yes.
I think that you wouldn't
be able to mule though, but because then you could mule over and mule over and mule over to the same guy. You could make better and better runs, but yeah. So it is. So age works. So yes, I mean it would just be based purely on, and I mean if that's a server command, they've got to be able to have a thing that just checks the moment the boss dies, it checks age and then bang. No, I think actually that would improve. That would improve things quite a bit. So yes, I guess you couldn't use the stash or I don't know how they would figure that. You know what I mean? You couldn't. I guess there are bigger concerns with that because then you could mule for an hour or whatever. And yes, you'd have to make the stash only accessible by the character that you're on.
Yeah. And maybe I don't know. Maybe they don't.
Maybe only allow one character entry in that race. Because when you die, you just delete it and you start over again. You make a new entry and you start again. So as long as it's just only one character entry.
Right.
So every time that disappears, the stash disappears as well. So that would be easy.
Right. It was funny. I guess I haven't done it yet. I did make a highlight. I went into a Vol side area, and
I was like, well, first of all, my character was insanely well geared. I had some pretty crazy RNG, and I had a Stibnite flask, which is so OP for Blamped. Oh my god! And I'm just like, oh, I'm fighting. I forget the invasion boss, but it's the big carrion queen that fires a huge ball of explosion, like the same thing that comes out of the whatever the boss, the Devour. You know, the huge ball that's moves slowly. Whatever.
Oh, yeah, the Mudflats guy.
Yeah, Mudflats, but this is the carrion queen that does that, and she also pulses like incinerate.
The Sunburst Queen.
Yeah. Sunburst Queen. That's right. Well, in Blamped, she's insane because she fires
multi-proj.
Multi-proj, and they go faster, I guess, than they normally do. And so I tanked one and didn't die, and I was like, oh, maybe I could do this. And then she, like, I ran through a doorway, and so it like the balls exploded in succession instead of all exploding at once. They like almost like a, I don't even know, chain explosion, and just I died.
Yeah.
I laughed. I thought it was the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in a Blamp race. But it's you know, it was very funny because people were talking about how there's our, I just want to read it because I don't want to get it wrong. Okay, so there are the top 200, 50 beta keys, 50 ebony footprints, top 130 gore skulls. So far, as of, I'm going to refresh just to make sure, there's 50 minutes left in the race. There's 3 pages. There have been 50 people who've completed the race. So maybe it was a little ambitious, them saying top 200 on this. But it's interesting, though. I think last time only 17 people completed it.
Yeah.
12? You know, so... Yeah, you know, I don't want to beat it to death, but it is, you know, it's very clear. There's nothing's changed about this race. In fact, this race, I would posit, is it just an exact copy of whatever happened last time? Because our characters, if you were a melee character, did not start with a bow, or a ranged weapon, which in current Blamped, like if there was there might be a 1 hour Blamped at some point. Usually there is, but anyway, if there's another Blamped race, you
might get a bow.
You'll get a bow. I'm actually certain, because in current Blamped they give you a starting bow now. Just because it was stupid. You could, you know, take you 10 resets of Twilight Strand to get.
Well, I would say in a 1 hour, I can condone the giving of a bow.
Right.
I think when you're talking about the, well, it's more I think it's in the spirit of racing and in the spirit of PoE, I think it's wrong to try and make every class the same. Of course, like being able to kill the guy to begin with, obviously some will have it easier than the other, but it is PoE, and it's the Marauder gets easier. Like say the Marauder, right? Well, you get easy resist as you level up. So later on, you have an easier time capping out your resist, which is really important. A lot of classes get Sunder. Right, as a ranger, if I could get Sunder and the attack totem, like the melee attack totem, well, I would just swap over to a Sunder build eventually, because that is so strong right now. So you can't really make it fair for everyone. And so if you can't, why should you make it fair early on if it's not fair later on?
Sure. Okay. I just mean that they decided it was too dumb to deal with.
Yeah,
right?
I think in the shorter races, you to even get going, I think it's a smart choice.
Right.
But my point being,
though, that they literally did nothing except copy the race from 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, okay, like that.
To the point where, like, maybe modern improvement, whether or not they were going to put it on, you know, we don't know their minds. But I'm just saying, they just hit Control-C and Control-V for this race.
Yeah,
and there's going to be triple to quadruple the number of people finishing the race. Now, I guess you could say people are better at racing. I don't think that holds water, because there's less races going on.
I think there's just more people participating.
That might be true, but I also think it's a very clear example of the power creep.
Yes, that is yeah.
Because I mean, at least for me, once I started actually going with Sunder, I didn't feel threatened at all. Now I'm sure Duresso, and I'm sure Dominus, and I'm sure Malachite, some things would have been fucking crazy. I have no doubt. I'm just saying that, like, it used to be like I was actually really behind in the race for Act 1, because I'm still playing 2014 version of Blamped, where like literally a stiff breeze kills you.
Yes.
Row a charge, you're dead.
Yes.
You know, all the stuff like that's definitely no longer the case.
Yes, I felt behind as well myself because of that.
Yeah. So like almost like, yes, there was a certain period where you have to go slow for a little bit. And then at some point you should just start going. I was playing Caster Marauder until 12. I probably should have just played Ground Slam.
Yeah.
Even though Ground Slam's kind of bad, because you're just, you know, I don't know. You know what I mean?
I was actually getting the melee notes and just start like one-shotting things and having a maybe not for the but then Brutus himself would be probably too scary.
Yeah, Brutus would be insane at that point. So I don't know how you would have to Ancestral Protector him down, basically.
Yeah, but you would have a lot more damage with that.
Right. It would actually fuck, especially if you're doing him at 12.
Yeah.
And you could get a mallet, because I think you could buy a mallet. A mallet will drop. No, wait a minute. On the way to Brutus, you couldn't get a mallet in prison, but you could buy one on the vendor.
Yeah.
And having a mallet, even a white mallet, would make Ancestral Protector fuck him up. So
yeah, and you have 3-link and
you just have to port all the time. I mean, I ported file like 10 times anyway or something, killing him. But no, it's just really interesting to me. At least it feels very apparent to me. So I don't know. I hate that it feels like we harp on it a lot, and I don't mean to do that. We have all these examples, and so I'm hoping there's a little bit of, you know, it was like just every day I'm just like, here's a little piece of evidence that I really hope we kind of like, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So would you say that the race is worse because of it though? Like this specific race?
No. I would say it's in terms of this, right? If PoE was blamped, let's say it was blamped all the time. Then I think we're in good balance.
Well,
actually, if PoE was blamped, if we were always blamped, then the current balance of PoE actually I think is pretty okay, because you want to blow up monsters before they do anything to you.
But you also want to have enough to be able to take a hit.
Right, you want to have a huge hit point pool.
Yeah.
So you want to have 20,000 ES so that you can, and an instant leech, because in case you get hit, hit, you do some damage and hit again, you've leeched yourself back up, etc.
I felt the race was in a good balance.
Yeah. No. I thought so too. I think
if I could have restarted and it was just on time, I would have restarted had I not. If I could have actually competed still. I think that's something that's just so important with these races. Because I died on Brutus at around 12, and that was like 45 minutes in. And had I been able to just start over and try again, and still compete for, because that's something I enjoy, competing to actually get the best time, then I would have done it.
Yeah. No, and I think that's something. It is, it's interesting because, I sometimes think people are like overhearing about racing or talking about racing. That was my impression for a long time. It seems like with racing kind of not being part of PoE really for a year or so at this point, people have like come back around to like they're kind of interested again, and I think that's fair, because I mean I definitely was a little burned out of racing. There's just so many races and all this stuff, and you're just like, holy crap, my God. It's a pretty brutal schedule if you want to compete.
Yeah, it is.
And I like I don't know, like I feel like it's unfortunate that I feel like a lot of the time what happens with this stuff is people would say your criticism is not valid because you haven't done it or you can't do it, or like they'd be like, well, you have a job so you can't compete. Now, I want to say, I think if you're busy and you can only dedicate a certain amount of time to PoE every day, someone who can dedicate more time is going to reap more rewards. I think that's fine. That's how everything in life works.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that person has a better PoE experience. You might have a better life experience where you own a 60-inch TV because you actually have a job and all this other stuff. But I do think that there's the Goldilocks solution in there where you can show that you're excellent at racing, but it's not just a fucking grind where you're doing 5 races a day, spaced 3 hours apart. Which is it's like, oh, it's a pretty brutal thing. And one of the ways to do that is more to what you're saying, Noogie, right? There's a 24-hour race, but you could start. I could have started this morning at 9 a.m.
Exactly.
And then if I could kill it in 4 hours, and what Steele did 4 hours 14 minutes. I guess Hellman was. I don't know if Hellman was way ahead. I think Hellman was way ahead. He died on Malachi.
3:54 or something. He was like 20 minutes ahead.
Yeah,
well,
so Hellman was having
would probably
very good
killed
race.
it. Like if he had done it, probably like 4 hours ish.
Okay, yeah. And I guess Havoc died on Dominus. I don't. And I think he was behind Hellman at that point. But it seems like that was the number. 3 hours something, high 3 hour kill time.
Yeah.
And so so again, you could start it. I could start it at 10 a.m. or something, and it ends 5 hours from then for me. And I think that would be the way to get more people interested in PoE. And they've been talking about it for a while. But asynchronous racing. I don't know. It's just interesting to me the fact that we're having this whole really month of events. I'm like surprised there isn't a race season or something. You know what I mean? Like that.
To me, if we look at the history of seasons in PoE, though, anytime that's been a season, it's always been accompanied with something like some art being made for it, rewards, and so if you make it into a season, there are certain expectations from what we have had before that you would have to uphold, I would say.
Right. Well, what a perfect tie-in to the new MTX system if they gave us fucking cross-league skin transfers. Right. I mean, it's just so interesting. It seems like it's an opportunity lost, where this is something that people have been asking for a long time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like it's come. Maybe it'll come 3.1. I guess there was some insinuation in a Reddit thread from Chris, because basically the thread was like, I mean, they didn't say it like this, right? But the TLDR was "Get fucked, Zizaran," because he spent
on what?
Because he bought the 1300.
Well, he bought the Alpha Howl one.
Alpha Howl.
Yeah.
Right. But so the thread was basically wanting to revel in his tears. I mean, they coached it.
Could you go through what we're talking about here? What happened?
Sure. So basically, the new MTX system is coming.
Okay.
Right? I'd have to open. I have it saved as a bookmark, and I'll find it in a second here.
Okay.
Chris said that this is coming. Those are his words. So he's not specific, and people were talking about, can we get a skin transfer for items in leagues, other stashes, to be put on our characters, right? So this has been quote unquote coming soon, TM, for a long time. So then they announced that the MTX rework is happening.
Yes.
3.0 is obviously a big thing. So people were speculating that this stuff was going to get huge. Yes. So they were trying to buy this stuff as much of it as they could. I think Ziz has been on a project to buy this stuff for a while. I know I'm sitting on a lot of stuff. If it ever comes out, I'm going to get very wealthy on this stuff. But so it basically came out. We are not going to have that. They said that's not part of 3.0. That's not part of the MTX system, not coming out. So there was a Reddit thread talking about it, and I think Chris responded basically maybe 3.1, maybe something or other. And of course, a bunch of people were like, they were saying it nicer, but in effect, the thread was about why Ziz should be like, we want to, drink his tears like carbon.
Well,
in some sense,
anyone who takes a risk. It was always a risk. Nothing was announced.
Oh, it's always a
risk.
So, yeah. So, I mean, it's going to pay. I think it'll pay off for him eventually. The question is,
sure, anyone buying any of these things, like this, will only go up in price.
Right. So that's why it's always funny when people say that stuff, and I want to be like, that I sold 3 closed beta demigod amulets for 20x in hardcore.
Yeah.
Hardcore was the only league. Dude, those are worth like 1,000x or something at this
I haven't
point.
sold any of mine.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, at this point, I'd have them if I ever wanted to sell them. But
well, sure.
Yeah. So it's just sort of, it's an interesting thing, and here we are. I'm just really surprised there wasn't more. I mean, I don't know. I come back to, I think they always knew they were gonna have to run some events, right? And I do think that the beta and release of 3.0 clearly got pushed back. Let's just say 3 to 4 weeks.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
So if you look at the events, we have the 1 week legacy hardcore, 1 week legacy, and then there's a 2 week mayhem.
Yeah.
If you want my opinion, I think one of those two things was planned, and all the other stuff is just bullshit sort of filler.
I think mayhem was planned.
Mayhem was planned. Okay, fine. Yeah, so they had something, and then because of course, if you have a 2 week event, you can have 5 days off going into it and 5 days off going after it, and so that coincides with a beta, like a 2 or 3 week beta.
It just sounds
so
cool.
It just sounds cool. Yeah, exactly. So so clearly they didn't plan this. That's why it's not a season. But to me, as a racer and a streamer, I feel bad. I died like in Ledge on the Headhunter race, and actually normally, and this is why you compare me to other racers, because I tend to care about the season, I will re-roll. So like I have a lot of worse results in races where I know I cannot win. Right? I will never get first. Well, I mean, I think once it's happened to, like, I know Gratha did it once. Most racers have had that event where they die 7 minutes in, re-roll because they're just like whatever, and then they have insane RNG, the greatest thing, and then 2 people ahead of them die and they somehow win, and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
But really, that's never going to happen on most things. So there's no point doing that, and if there's no points. So like without the, like, I don't know, it's just sort of a strange. I feel like the points were always there to sort of give people incentive to play the game, right? Because in reality, why do they do anything? Why are there leagues? Why are there races? Why are there giveaways? Why is there MTX? It's to get people playing PoE.
Sure.
Right? Because the more you play PoE, the more stash tabs you buy, the more MTX you buy, the more whatever. So it's just sort of strange. They don't have, there's the second layer, right? And I think this is the genius of PoE. Why does standard exist for hardcore characters? You don't lose your character. You get to keep playing, right? They want you to keep playing the game. So it's just sort of strange. It was just strange to me because they're very good at that, like, rush, play the game, click the thing, open the chest, get a reward. Like they're very big on the Pavlovian response. And yeah, I just was sort of surprised there isn't more of a mechanic of something. I mean, I guess there's giveaways, but I don't know when we're going to get that stuff. Like I think that's a big problem with racing. There's such a delayed gratification.
Yeah, I think they could do much better on that in general. Like when they also just the clarity of it. Like there's so many of these things where there's just no. We don't know when we get the things, how long it's gonna take. There's no like time frame. I think it's important that they actually show that.
Right. But I mean, the whole point is you press the lever to get the food pellet, right? Or to get the pleasurable shock. You press it and you get the thing. I think that's like the underpinning of all fucking like mobile phones, games, TV, internet, whatever. And somehow in PoE, we press the button and it's like, okay, we'll mail it to you in like 6 days. And you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, now I understand this is a process in terms of that has to be done manually. Chris has talked about that, get all that stuff. But even in the current racing environment, you win a race. Let's say this was an actual race season. There was a league going on. I don't get my reward. I don't get anything because it goes to a remove only tab in hardcore. I don't even get the cool. I can't even like.
You forget about it. You end up forgetting about it.
Oh. Yeah. So it's like it's purely you purely are doing it for the competitive aspect, right? Like purely that, and that's so that they're like, well, there's only like 40 people who care about it because that's all.
Well, are there not beta keys for any of these, or?
Yeah, I think they all give beta keys. They all do.
Yeah.
And so I guess beta is 3 days from now, right?
Yeah. So everyone's like, oh, we need to make our chances as big as possible to get that beta key because nobody knows. Do we even know who get, like, when we get in, how we get in, who gets in? And
I think that's a good question. I don't think we know. So the question is then, is tonight going to be? Because
Monday morning
tomorrow
for them,
right. Tomorrow for you, for me, Sunday night for me is Monday afternoon for them, right? Because right now it's 6 a.m. roughly. I don't know what daylight savings, but it's 6:30 a.m. on my clock on my computer for that. By the way, can I just say, I know this is totally tangential, so bear with me. Like 2 or 3 years ago now, someone made a Reddit thread and was like, hey, if you want to add New Zealand clock to your Windows clock on your computer, here's how you do it. And like ever since then, that's like the greatest. That's why I love the internet and Reddit and all this stuff, because it's just a little throwaway thread. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
you have that. You have like a double clock.
Yes, I see both. I'm looking at both my clocks. I'm looking at my clock, which says 2:30 Sunday, and then I'm looking at POE NZ time, which is, you can label it. Of course, I label it.
How do I add this clock?
Fuck, I don't fucking remember. So you should just Google. I bet if you Google Reddit Path of Exile like Windows clock, the thread will come up. I mean, that's another great thing. I bet you the thread will come up. And anyway, just want to say that's like that's my favorite thing, because I'm always looking and being like, oh, okay, here's what's going on. So I'm curious if we'll get an announcement. I feel like Sundays are often the big announcements, but I mean, it seems like that's changed. It used to be, Sunday my time, Monday their time, were big announcements. I feel like because they worked the entire previous week, right? And then Monday morning they okay, let's edit, make sure everything looks good, and then post it. And so anyway, we'll have to see. I'm assuming we're going to get that post in the next day or two. What's going to be going on? Are we going to have the 11211 thing going on? I guess not. I don't know. There's going to be a rolling beta key giveaway. It does seem like almost everyone's going to get into this beta. Right? There's going to be no.
Yeah, at some point, everyone's going to be in.
Yeah. So it's funny. I actually. Well, I mean, I don't know about you. I've been leveling my claw character. I'm kind of planning almost to play regular PoE, not the beta. But, I mean, I plan to make a character or two on the beta, but I feel like it's going to be, I don't know, very quickly. I don't know. Just based on the last betas, I don't feel as. And we're not going to see X9 and 10.
to play on it, or
I actually don't feel super compelled to play on it.
Yeah, no,
I guess we'll have to see. We'll have to see what ends up happening.
Well, there's a lot of things that go into this. Right? A lot of people say, "Oh, we really want to get into the beta and all that kind of stuff," but at the end of the day, there's not being able to keep any of the things on the beta. For people playing these types of games, it's actually a big I don't know, like there's a big incentive of being able to keep your things. So not having that kind of deters people from wanting to play on it at all, or it kind of limits like how much fun you can have there, because you know that all of this is just going to go away.
Right. Well, I think about my first 6-link I've ever gotten in the history of PoE was off a vendor in beta. And I was just like, I don't care. Like it was a destroyer regalia or something. So it's not worth nothing. We're the divine in regular PoE. But for me, it would be, I wanted to keep it just like you're saying. Just like, I would just keep that. I'd keep that forever. Just like the 6-link I got last league, which is the first time I got one in PoE. I think might have been off a vendor too. And I freaked out. The 6-link dropped or on vendor, not created with fusings. And so and it's so what do you think about something where they like okay, let's just say hypothetically, because I mean I can't predict the future, no one can. Let's say hypothetically we're still doing this 5 years from now.
Okay,
we're still playing PoE, like we're having fun, we're doing whatever, and so that means it'd be between now and then there'd be probably 2 more betas, 4.0, 5.0, and or beta for PoE 2, right, or something. Maybe. Do you think it'd be better if they had something like a race season, but in the beta? And I don't mean necessarily events. I mean like, get all 7 characters to level 75.
No, I don't think so.
And you get a reward. You don't like anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Because that forces people to play the beta, and you feel like anyone who tries because then the beta becomes the real game.
But that's what's happening. That's what happened last time. That's what's going to happen. I mean, that's the thing. Is like it's like all the arguments for why doing such and such and such in the economics works out, because people act in their own self-interest, but they don't. That's not how the real world works. So like, I mean, I agree with you, but the same argument was said about racing. Someone's like, well, I want an alt art chest, and the only way to get it is to do this race. Okay, well, that's just how it, good or bad. That's what it is. I mean,
No,
that's
but
sort of
it
what
just
I'm
comes.
saying.
It just comes with all these problems of what could go wrong in the beta for them as well. If they begin to tie in prices and stuff, and they have to do because sometimes they need to. There's some very present, like there's a very like a grievous fault or something, like a bug or something going on, and they have to wipe everything in the middle of it.
Yeah.
What do you do then?
Yeah.
So if you start tying things into the beta, well, you end up in a place where the beta has to run smoothly all the time, or else your product is going to stand out looking bad.
But I feel like that already goes on. Based on my experience between alpha and the beta is nothing like the way the alpha used to work. I mean, it used to be just, I don't know, it was just stuff going on all the time because the objective is to get the game out, not to please people. But it seems like, I don't know. It's weird. Because I don't want to dumb it down saying it's a publicity event, this beta, but it does feel like it's somewhere between pure publicity stunt, and technical realm where we solve problems. It's definitely, it's not either of those. It's somewhere in the middle.
Sure.
And I guess that's just the way this is going to work, because PoE is such a popular game at this point.
Yeah.
They have to keep people, like you have to be Russell Crowe screaming, "Are you not entertained?" in the middle of the beta. So, what are your plans? I'm curious now that we've seen more of it, because I don't think we've talked about other than, I mean, it is funny kind of being a streamer. You're like, I don't know, you're viewing the future, but I don't know, me, all I'm looking at is this page that just shows the next week of races and then the 1 week race. That's as far ahead as I've thought. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm trying to do some of these races, maybe do the 1 week race, and like no other concept. But I think because the beta is going to be going on during this 1 week race.
Oh yeah.
So, I guess we have to.
I think I'll do the race. I've been thinking about it a lot. I've neglected to actually do longer events for a long time. So after I did the 100 push, I've actually really started enjoying just setting some goals and following through with them. So stuff like a 1 week race and just saying, well, I'm gonna try my hardest and then we'll see how it goes. Right. So
yeah, I mean,
depending on how the beta is gonna run and how much stuff there is to do, I think I'll do some races in between, like all the fun ones, and then fully commit whenever the 1 week goes on, and then there's gonna be another week in between before the 2 week come out. So there's gonna be like a week, then a week race, and then a week, and then a 2 week race. Yeah. The 2 week one, I don't know. I've never really been a big fan of the 2 week ones. It's just a week too long.
I'm gonna read it because I don't think I 100% took on board what is each. So it's Mayhem. Yeah. Each area other than towns on the Twilight Strand. Okay, so you get a reprieve, I guess, to kill Hillock. Will contain large numbers of dangerous inhabitants of 1 out of 5 different types: rogues, spirits, invaders, strongboxes, or breaches. Oh, they are consistent within specific area for all players and change hourly. So it's basically like Tempest or Warbands, I guess. Well, so then the question becomes:
so you have 5 breaches, 5 rogues, right?
Okay, so then my question becomes: it's one of the 5, then, right?
Or is that? I'm not sure. Let's read it again.
It does. So it doesn't say out of 1 of 5 different. So it doesn't say whether there would be 1 of each, or a random assortment, or it's 1 of each league.
Okay, so it could be a mix, but it's always the same in a certain area.
Right. So I guess so then it becomes like, oh, Docks has boxes, so you should remake Docks for the next hour to farm the shit out of currency or whatever.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Some map has breaches, so you should be spamming that map.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
One thing that's going to be interesting to see in that kind of thing is like, will there be a quick drop off? Because this is a voided league.
Yeah. I feel like there would be, personally. Like me personally, these types of leagues, I would push for 85 probably. Mm-hmm. And maybe re-roll, because I feel like these are the types of leagues where you can die at like 42 and you're just like, all right, you're 2 hours in or whatever. You're like, all right, whatever.
and re-roll again, and take it slower, because at that point you're out of the crush or whatever, trying to go fast with everyone because blah blah blah, naming lights, and I just sort of.
So you can have multiple 85s, and you're going to be eligible for multiple prizes, or how does this work?
I don't think you can have multiple 85s.
Okay.
It does. It's weird. It doesn't say it. That's just got to be an oversight.
Yeah.
It has to be an oversight. There's no way they've never allowed this. So,
because I don't remember that being a thing.
Yeah, there was actually, it was interesting. There was drama in racing a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
Oof made 2 characters and got to 1,000 points.
Yeah,
and
twice.
I was just like, I don't know. And the thing was that, well, we didn't say you couldn't do it. Dude, everywhere else, including events like this, although it's not said here, they've always done, you cannot have multiple entries into a thing. Somehow they allowed at that time, which really, again, that really kind of pissed me off.
Yeah.
And then, but I mean, I'm
because
like 99.9.
In an instance like that, you have 20 different players being ranked against each other, right? And then one pushes,
right?
And then you have one with 2 entries, but it doesn't make any sense because he's not 2 people.
No, it actually doesn't. It's not 2 people. It doesn't make any sense. I understand that people could make a sneaky account, I guess, play on a different IP.
Well, sure.
Okay, whatever. We can't every eventuality.
You can use
but my point being,
MapPeg as well. Right?
It's just yeah. Anyway, whatever. So probably 99.9% you cannot. You only one character. But at least for me, I like on this race, I'd pit 85 probably and be done with it. That's. I mean, I guess unless it's super, super, super fun, which I'm always open to it. But again, it's a void league, right?
Yeah.
Actually, does it say that?
Yeah.
Oh, this race type is voided.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, when it's voided, I just don't. There's nothing compelling for me personally.
And it's such a long race as well.
Long race too. Like imagine you get your first headhunter in this race.
Oh,
I'd be like,
God.
I would be so butthurt. I'd be so butthurt. Be like, I can't even. Or you get your first 6 link, or you get your first tier 1 unique drop. I mean, I said header, but you get your first chevrons, or you get your whatever, and you or I don't even know, just something, and you're just like, wow, I want to keep this character forever. And it's like, well, I mean, you can. It's just a grayed out character you can never play. So.
Do you think these kind of events should be voided?
Absolutely not. I don't. Why is this being voided? This makes no sense to me.
Eventually, everything goes to standard, right? And then you're going to talk about, but you're going to ruin the standard economy. But is that really, or the standard? I don't know. But is that even a problem? As long as it doesn't go into a current league.
Yeah. No. Well, but this gets. It's interesting. This gets back to the time, like almost time immemorial argument here, where we're so concerned about standard. And I understand a huge majority of people play standard. But the thing is, we're not destroying PoE for those people. All we're doing is there's new stuff for them to buy. And like, if we're really okay with this sort of market system, the market will adjust.
Yeah.
I don't know. And like the moment somebody heard that this league was going to be doing this, they wouldn't go out and buy, I don't know, headhunters or something in preparation, because maybe there's going to be 100 headhunters that are going to, I don't know. I feel like they're so concerned with this stuff. I mean, that's why we don't get fun things. I've been advocating that mirrors should be 10 times as common as they currently are for a long time. Actually, it's something I've thought. I actually think that would make the game far more interesting. If Eternals don't exist,
yeah,
right? Yeah, then I think that mirrors should be far more common, because right now the only thing you mirror.
I guess you would either have one of them, but be way more common. So there's more of an incentive of creating these great items.
Correct, especially because we're in a 3-month fucking league. It was one thing. Eternals were too OP because we were all playing hardcore, and it just went on and on and on. And then there were some leagues, but you always went back to hardcore to finish crafting your thing. Now, if leagues are the way that they're always pushing the thing, one or the other, I think, should be more common. So that I don't know. I
do
don't
think that they would have to. I do think that. Wouldn't you think that they would have to nerf some of the roles? Like they would have to make the rare, at least on maybe weapons and such. If you had more of an opportunity to create some of these items,
okay,
and there would be more in circulation, more mirrors, well, then the power of these items would also have to go down a bit. I would think.
yeah. So okay. So now perhaps this hasn't
at least for the end
through.
game.
Right. Now perhaps hasn't thought through everything. Now what if? I mean, I guess what if mirrors retain so the rarity of current mirrors, right? And so I guess there could be two types of mirrors. Like, what if there were mirrors that only worked on chests, and they were as rare as they currently are? Or maybe, I guess, weapons are just as dangerous. I don't know. Honestly, I feel like it's the type of thing where
I do understand. I do understand what you're getting at, though. Like, they would be nice to have, at least when it comes to crafting, a little bit more of a incentive of making items, and more of a more reasonable approach to making a crafted items for players, rather than, oh, we just get this unique item and then we're done.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, I just feel like people are always worried about something, but not realizing that, again, the market, if it's free trade and all this other stuff, it handles these things. Like, when I see these people in standard who create some ultra badass thing, and they're like, I'm only selling 10 mirrors of this. So right there, it's like, I mean, without GGG, because that's one way they could solve it. Like, what if a chest, if you wanted to mirror a chest, it only had 5 uses? Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, you do the quality of the item degrades over time for every mirror because you suck some of the power out. I mean, they did some lore bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but instead of them doing that, the market does it because there are people out there who they're like, well, the best way for me to make money is to make this exclusive.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get it.
So I feel like, maybe 10 times as common. So mirrors are, say, 60 or 80x, so they'd be 6x. Maybe that's a little okay. How about a third?
I don't think the price would necessarily correlate that way. They would still retain a high value, or a higher value.
It would retain a high value until people really realized how common it was, right? Because it was
but
just
even 10 times more common is not very common. And as long as there's a powerful enough item out there to mirror, it's going to have a super high value. If that becomes, let's say that someone makes a mirror-worthy item, and then the mirror is more common, but it's still the best item anyone can ever get,
right?
Then the mirror will retain the price of that item. Or at least somewhere.
In fact, I completely disagree. The only reason that relationship works is because the mirror is as rare as that item, and we know that. If the mirror is more common, what will happen is the copy of the item would retain the value of the item itself, but then the fact that you're able to get more of the items, the supply and demand would cause the price to go down. So
sure.
like a perfect item is, I don't know, 400x.
I feel like we're assuming that 10 times is enough to make it common enough.
Well, wait a minute, we know old drop rates. I didn't pick 10 times as a random thing, because I believe that was the number, roughly. They were 10 times rarer than an Eternal. And an Eternal was like 2.5 times rarer than an Exalt.
Okay.
Something like that. So basically I was just reducing mirrors to, I don't know, somewhere rarer than an Eternal used to be, but nowhere near like they are now. Although I guess I'm sure mirrors drop way more frequently than they used to. I would have, if we...
I have no idea. I've never even seen it.
No,
it
could be.
It, but yeah, okay.
I pay attention every league to their price, and at least in hardcore, because they're very rare in hardcore. Either because I don't know what people do with them, or whether people mistake, how many new to PoE played PoE for 2 hours. Oh, this thing called mirror drops. Oh, it mirrors. I'm going to mirror my level 12 wand. I mean, I think that stuff happens more than we might think, less than I think people would, would say, oh my God, what if this is happening? But I just feel like the quantity and all this stuff that's gone on in the game, clear speed, quantity, means more that has to be dropped.
For sure.
That's what I mean.
For
sure. So anyway, I think it would be interesting to see what it would do to the economy, but they would never do it. Like let's say my idea is the worst idea ever. I don't know. I don't think there's any way to know until you did it. You could make a reasonable guess or whatever, but they'd never do it because how it would affect standard and hardcore. And I just think that's so...
Well, they did Brandis.
Yeah, yeah.
And they've done... And they've done all the breach stuff, which generates so many more headhunters, or not breach, the league stone. Like, they do stuff all the time that has an immediate effect on the standard league.
Yeah, I think the difference though is in the scenario that I'm talking about, there's incentive to rip it to standard in some sense from hardcore. I think that the reason that the things you're talking about, the reason those are okay is because it's a 3 or 4 month league. So standard has that entire time to get prepared for what's going on. Right? Because we know that the pricing, using websites that we shouldn't talk about, we know that the pricing starts really far apart, and then they come to where they're in perfect equilibrium by the last 2 weeks of the race. In fact, you can even see this in the current legacy hardcore chaos to its halt price, because they was low, then it started creeping, and then it shot really far up, and then it's crashed back down to what I actually think is the price in hardcore. It's like 60 chaos to an exalt. So, and I mean, I don't know. I actually don't know what the price should be. I'm sure there'll be more of a correction at some point, because now that they announced that Legacy is going to continue, they were for sure meeting each other, because the league was supposed to end, I think, on the 28th of May or whatever, or maybe yesterday the league was supposed to end. I don't know. So whatever was going to go on, since it's extended, maybe that's going to give some reprieve. I just feel like so much of this stuff they're hesitant to do without because no one in standard can rip their stuff no one in the regular league can rip their crap to standard, right? So I feel like that's why it's like they're okay with it, because what is it, 20% of the population plays hardcore, right? Overall, or 15% or something, some small number. So then of those people, then to really have an effect on the standard economy, every time they get a good item, they'd have to rip it down there, and it's like, no one wants to do that.
Because you can't do it from standard to standard.
Right, you can't go from the standard league to standard permanent league. I'm saying, like, if you could do that, like, if there was a way to do that, like you could merge the way they do solo self-found, that would change 100%. There would be much less economic mayhem.
But that's not allowed, though, is it? That would not, because how does the cross league trading work?
In terms of which way?
In terms of you can't trade from the current league into the standard hardcore, can you?
Right. Well, I'm not talking about because I mean, you're not allowed to, I'm sure.
But that's what will happen, right? That's where because people would,
some sense. Yeah. And of course it would quickly, again, it would economic theory teaches us it would there'd be equilibrium at some point. Oh, sure. I'm just saying, because you can't just take it down, it gives, again, standard prices time to figure it out. People that sell stuff, people that whatever. I don't know. I feel like there's things that they don't do because, I don't know, they're just whatever.
Yeah, okay.
They're worried about the effect. I mean, now maybe I'm wrong, because like you say, Parandus, Breach, Legacy, these are all whatever. But I feel like Legacy, even though it's a huge fucking deal, we're going into 3.0, which for all we know could wipe all the best items.
Sure.
They've done it once before, right? Although they're not really, right? Because usually it's one mod that's better. So it's like, depending on where you have, and I mean, people clearly have millions of Eternals in standard. They have their thing Eternaled at, I don't know, 4 perfect mods or something. And so that leaves with a prefix and a suffix open, so they can craft, or they just have enough currency they can craft the new thing anyway. They've gotten rich from. So I mean, I don't think it's as big a deal, but I feel like that's why they're okay with opening the floodgates, because
one could say though that they added Eternals in the past,
right? Which
is arguably a bigger deal than upping the drop rate of mirrors would ever be.
Right.
So
right.
And you can't really say now that somehow that destroyed that standard is unplayable right now or anything. It was too easy to obtain like the best of the best items, obviously, through Eternaling.
Right. It was still very rare though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was. I mean, I guess because my perspective is hardcore.
So I always think of the game. So it's unfortunate that I know half of the game in terms of the economy. So and hardcore would not be a problem.
No.
But because I don't know, what if
it's just I'm just trying to get my head around what is a problem?
You mean with the mirrors being so rare?
Yeah, or not so rare.
You're saying what would be the problem of my proposal?
Yeah.
I think it's I don't know. Yeah, I think that they would. Well, it's interesting. Maybe some of it is that they want it to be exclusive so that there's the wow factor, right? I think that's
it would still be the wow factor.
Well, sorry, yeah, you cut out a bit. What did you say?
But it would still be a wow factor, though.
Yeah, I would think so. It seems like they've changed how fusing works, right? Because it used to be like 6-link was like a luxury, whatever. Yeah. Now it's definitely much more standard part of the game. It's It's in fact the limiter now, right? Because now there's most gems have 9 gems that work with them, so you have to figure out the 5 supports that are actually right. So, I don't know. I'm just saying I just feel like there's things they could do that could make things a little more interesting. I know people have been clamoring for a while for a craft league or a
Wow.
A crafting league where maybe no items drop crafted, but tons of currency drops, and then you have to craft everything.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yes, I think that would be I actually think that would be really cool. And I guess
but that would have to be voided. In the current system, that would have to be voided.
Right.
Like with the current logic at least being implied.
Yeah. No, people would just have absurd amounts of currency because at some point you'd have all the gear you needed. And then if you're doing maps, you're getting, I don't know, say 30 chaos a map or something. That would obviously get out of control pretty quickly. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just ideas. I do think, but I still think sometimes that they are hamstrung by the fact that a majority of people play standard. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
They play the standard like temporary league. The majority play the standard temporary league, right?
Is that what it is? Because that was not always true. That might be true now, and I could be behind on the thing.
I'm pretty sure that a large majority play the actual temporary leagues.
Okay, I hope that's true. And if that is true, then maybe that's why we've seen a loosening of some of these things. Why we've gotten Breach and why we've gotten Parandus and whatever, because more people are playing the temporary league versus the I could see it in my mind. Their stats that were released, or maybe it was track Pete, but it was like very clearly comprehensive. Sorry about the horn in the background. That more people played standard permanent league than any other thing. But again, this was years ago. This could have been back during Invasion or beyond.
I think it was like that for a while. I think it's shifted over time. To my recollection, there's been other releases of data that's shown that most people played the. But I'm not. Maybe I'm just wrong. I don't know.
Because that's the other thing is I feel like they haven't released data in a long time. That's actually been something that I've been sort of. Interested in that because they used to release a little bit more data, and was always surprising me when they didn't. That's to me why I actually think Parandus was not a successful league. I really don't. There was the least amount of information about that league compared to other leagues at least at that time. That might be the new practice going forward, but I know there was a lot of people who were like, oh, this is so much fun. I'm getting all these items and stuff. I just realized that I think that's a short-term high. I really feel like that is a short-term thing. And Parandus just, I guess there were other problems with the league in terms of graphics and stuff like that. But I just think the underlying thing was just not as compelling as
too many shortcuts.
Yeah. Sorry. It's just a horn. It's New York City. I just want to say, last night somebody honked the horn, and the guy's like, "Well, fuck you too," at the top of his lungs. And I'm sitting here. I look at Mrs. Moors in the apartment, and we both just started laughing. I'm just like, New York at its finest. I mean, it's like 10:45 at night, or 11:30 at night, and it's like very peaceful and quiet. I don't know where. Anyway, so yeah, it's interesting because I'm really curious. Will they adjust things? Will they adjust economic stuff for 3.0?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like we're kind of, people are getting used to the new normal a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if it's, maybe they're not going to mess with it. Maybe that's something they would, I mean, maybe they tweak it all the time and we don't know. Right. I mean, I think if we had Chris on the podcast and we pressed him on this, his response would be basically, we tweak it all the time and you never know.
Yeah.
Right.
Which they've said in the past that they've tweaked stuff.
Yes.
So
right. And of course,
that's not going to stop.
No, it's not going to stop. But of course, that's I want to say that's Chris is a very smart person. Sure. And the reason he would say something like that is because there's no response to that.
Yeah.
What can I say? You don't know anything. So, okay, well, that ends that discussion. Even if maybe nothing's tweaked or they tweak very little or, anyway. Yeah. Well, what are you thinking of playing for the 1 week race?
I don't know. Maybe I'll go with something meta for once. Because if my idea is to push some levels and actually compete, well, I have to also accept the fact that there are certain things that are better than others. So maybe I'll do something with one of those balls of fire that then shoot many balls of fire. Could be.
Right. Isn't SRS kind of meta though? Or is it not meta?
Well, sure.
I mean, I know you already did that. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting to me because every time
when you look at something like Solar Self-Found, it's also about finding something. You're trying to solve a solution rather,
right?
Where that's just a good solution. Obviously, you're doing the same thing here, so
yeah. Well, it's interesting because I if I wanted to push the thing, I don't know what I would want to play. It's always the toughest. Mm-hmm. That's always the toughest part for me because I have actually really liked the Golem characters.
Yeah. The only problem is getting all the tools within a week.
Yes.
Especially early on, because you really hinge on getting all the jewels early.
Right. Well, no. I mean, you have to. If you were going to make a Golem character, if I did it, I would be playing support for the first 2 days. 100%.
Yeah.
And of course, and I think this is true of playing any support, this hinges on your teammates not being fucking stupid. Yeah. So, that's a 50-50 proposition is best.
Yeah.
For, because, yeah. So, so I mean, either way, I would be playing support to start, and then, saving your currency and getting ready to swap and, all this other stuff. But, it's interesting because then it's like, okay, so if I did something like that, which I enjoy, and it's sort of, it works with a group and it works as a whatever, but it's like, it's still really nothing compared to a weapon-based class. Like, yes, I think, well, because you just have such huge upgrade potential with a weapon-based character, right? Headhunter, Insanity. I'm not saying I'm going to get that. I'm just saying.
Well,
let's say if you're really playing, if you're playing as hardcore as possible,
Headhunter is just as powerful and spellcasters or close to
it. Sure, that's true. I mean, obviously, Vol Fireball, right?
Yeah.
Vol Fireball, Headhunter was nuts. I wonder, do you think that's going to be the best build if somebody's pushing? It has to be, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh god, just thinking about doing that makes me
you click that you click your thing that has shield charge on it and some fortify, and then you click that other button that lights up every once in a while, and then you
oh my god,
you're on the beach kind of thing.
Yeah,
some beach boys rolling in the background and you're just going 20 miles an hour.
20 you mean 200 million miles an hour?
No, 20. Like actual, like if you took your character and measured the speed versus real life speed, 20 miles an hour.
You think shield charge is 20 miles an hour? I bet you it's more like 50, 60, 70 miles an hour.
If we were measuring it, like you actually took the in-game speed versus the
let's say 30% movement speed is the top speed of a human, which I think is 20 miles an hour. That's the full out sprint.
No. I'm actually like measuring the two, like exact, like pixels on the thing versus pixels in real life.
Oh, you're saying you're saying you're not. Okay, I get it now. We're not translating as if this was real. We're saying
no.
how fast the character goes across your screen.
We're going 20 miles an hour.
Let me see. That's actually a really interesting question here. I mean, I feel like I cover a third of my screen in like a fifth of a second.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, what is the distance? What is the distance on your screen? So if I have a 1080p screen, how many pixels is a third? So that's across is what, 1920?
Yeah.
Right? So then times 0.35. So it's 672 pixels. How, I guess pixels, is that a defined unit? It is, right? What is the size of a pixel?
Ooh, I actually don't know whether or not that's a defined unit. I don't think it is. Because you can have, you know, on a 4K screen, like you can have
more pixels, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, because that's why it's 4K, right? That's because it's better. So my screen is, I think, is a 1080p screen.
I think you just, I guess it depends on if you're playing on on say a 60-inch monitor. Well, then you're going really fast, right? Because now you're even further.
Yeah. Well, that's a really. Yeah, this is an interesting one. I mean, now we're gonna have to like get the math guys out to tell us how fast our character is actually moving.
Yeah.
What we need is an auto hotkey program that once you know all these things, it will see how far your character moves and then output a thing on the top right. You know, like where the current macro that everyone uses that shows your rank and everything. Below that is just your miles per hour. Or maybe distance travel, or you live in New York and there's horns going all the time. You know, like there's just these little stats going on. I actually really like this now that we're talking about it. I would love to have how many miles have you traveled on your character, how fast your character is going, and whatever. And so then we could see how truly stupid some builds are, like Vol Fireball. Its average speed being 12 miles an hour, and everyone else is going 5 miles an hour or whatever.
Yeah,
so
funny.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that's it for us. Yeah, I think we'd like to keep. I know me personally, I'm glad to keep the podcast a little shorter. We did. It was a great discussion with Green Dude. I want to say that it was really great. Sure. And I want everyone to know that Nugi's the one who's putting together the guests. I'm doing some of the technical stuff on the back end of the website. I still need to update. That's in progress. But Nugi's the one putting together the guests. So I mean, it's big props to him for. Finding good guests. I mean, I do think it's very nice that we have PoE is a sizable community at this point, right? Because 4 years ago we would have had to talk to people in Crips Mumble, I guess. So that would have been, that could have been a disaster because man, I can't just thinking about Bob coming in here with this fucking KB platform bullshit. No, I'm joking. No, but so yeah, for anyone out there, you're just checking out Nugi's stream. I know Nugi's been playing a lot of Diablo. Every time I've looked at Nugi's stream, he's playing Diablo 2, which is great. Or sorry, Median XL or Path of Diablo. We did talk to Green Dude last time if you wanted to check it out, which was number 14. And we have all our old episodes are on Nugi's YouTube. And on our website, you could subscribe, you can whatever, thecoffeetalkpodcast.com. And yeah, I think that's it for number 15.
Yeah.
Title TBD, depending on Nugi's chat, right? How often do we rely on your chat for the title?
I think with 2 out of 15 or something.
Oh, really? That little? I thought it was way more than that.
No, it's like 2 or 3.
Oh. Okay. Oh, that's really. Oh, I'm disappointed. I thought Nugi's chat was like, I don't know.
Well, sometimes they suggest things and they just ignore them.
Well, that's it. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I guess we could. Sorry, we should say where they can find you, just in case they're listening on the podcast.
Oh, should we? I guess. Twitch.tv/nugiyen. And same name on YouTube. And Morse?
Yep. And Twitch TV, Moore's Rage NG. And I believe that links you to my YouTube as well. So that's fine at this point. And that's it. Thank you very much.